So now let's talk about Object Snap. And using Object Snap, you can make drawings precisely. Now the Object Snap toggle is right here on the status bar. We have it. Now its function key shortcut is F3, as you can see here on the tooltip. So you can just toggle it on or off using F3 function key as well. Now I'll go to this line tool here from the draw panel, and now I'll bring my cursor close to any existing part of this geometry. So maybe this line. And as I move it closer, it will highlight a point, and in this case it is endpoint, and that's because of Object Snap. So when you keep Object Snap active, Autocad will recognize all of these predefined points. Now if I click, the line will be made exactly at the endpoint. If however I deactivate it, so I'll press escape key and then I'll deactivate Object Snap, and if I try making it again, I'll go to line, I'll bring it closer, and now we don't have any endpoint or any other point for that matter. So if I try making anything as closely as possible to this point, it may look like it is working perfectly, but on a closer inspection, it will show this kind of a result. So as you can see, it is not snapping exactly on this endpoint. If however you zoom it here, it's exactly snapping no matter how far you zoom in. So that's because of Object Snap. So let's get rid of these two lines and I'll activate Object Snap. Now Object Snap can not only recognize endpoints, but there are also several other points which it can recognize. Now let's see what these points are. So click this arrow right next to Object Snap, and here you'll see list of all the Object Snap points. The first one is endpoint, and then mid and center and several other. But not all of these points are active, and that's an option which I've set by choice. Now it may look very counterintuitive that why not keep everything active if we have it, but I'd really recommend that you keep only the required number of points active. Now this is usually because when you keep all of these points active, then you may end up selecting wrong points when they are in closer proximity. For example, if you have points like endpoint and midpoint and also center in closer proximity, then instead of selecting, let's say, endpoint, you'll end up selecting either mid or center. So it is better to keep only required number of points active at a time. So here I've got the endpoint, midpoint and center active. Let's keep it active in your case too. If it is not, just click here to activate end, mid, center. And now we'll see what these things are. So you've already seen end. Let's go to line and let's see what the midpoint is. All right. So the midpoint is actually the midpoint of a line, for example, here. So if I move it close to midpoint, it will show this triangular snap, and well, that's a midpoint. Not only that, we have midpoint for arc. For example, here we have the midpoint, and this shape is called a spline. It's completely random kind of shape, but it also has a midpoint, for example, here. So these are the midpoints. All right, let's just get rid of these. Now I'll go to this option and then let's see the next one, which is center. It is on. So now let's see the center, line, and we have center for circle and arcs. So we have an arc here. Here just move close to this circumference of the arc, and now the center will highlight. So that's the center of arc, and here to see the center of a circle, just move it close to the circumference and the center will highlight. So now you can snap to this point and the center too. All right, we have several other points as well. For example, geometric center. Let's activate this. Now geometric center is the centroid of any drawing, and for this I'm going to use this example. Now this may look like two set of identical drawings, but they are slightly different. This drawing is made with separate segments. As you can see, this is separate, so is this, and so is this. So it's made with several different segments, but this one is just one single piece of drawing. All right. Now in this case, you can find out the geometric center or centroid very easily using this snap. So keep it active, move to line tool, and bring it close to this circumference, and now it will highlight the geometric center, which is also the centroid, as I mentioned. Centroid is simply a point where the entire mass of this object is supposed to be concentrated. So you can kind of make this shape out of cardboard or any metallic sheet, and you can balance it using this centroid. So that's the centroid. But the centroid won't highlight here because this thing is made with separate segments. So centroid is only applicable for these kind of situations where you have a completely closed shape made with one single segment. All right, now what's next? We have node. I'll activate this node as well. And node is basically the points. Here we have points and third point here. Now if you deactivate node and line tool and move your cursor close to this, well, nothing will highlight. AutoCAD won't be able to still select it. But if you activate node, bring it closer, now we have the node and we can select these points very easily. Now after making this, the point will simply disappear because they are kind of minuscule, just a single pixel object, so it will automatically hide behind these lines. But if you want to make it prominent, then you can change the style of point, and you can do that using Utilities panel. So here on Utilities panel, expand it, and we have an option called Point Style. Click, and these are all the point style available for us. This is the selected style, which is just a single pixel object. Second one is, well, simply no style at all, so points will disappear if you select this one, and all of these are other point styles. I'll select this X and OK, and now we have these X's at the location of all of these nodes or points. If you want to make more points in your drawing, then go to Draw panel, and here we have option of multiple points. Select, click, click, and you have all these points. And if you now go back to Utilities and change the point style for all of these objects will change. For example, if I change it back to maybe this one, it's going to change for all of these points. All right, now let's see what we have next. So we have seen up to node. Now let's talk about quadrant. Now we have quadrant for circle, ellipsis, and arc. So the quadrants are 4 quadrants. When you intersect circle, you get 4 quadrants, this, 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 and this. All right, let's go to line tool. I'll move my cursor close to this point, and that's a quadrant. Then we have second quadrant, third, and fourth. So these are quadrants. We have quadrant for arc as well. So I'll go to line, and here we have the quadrant. So it's exactly like the circle. Then we have the intersection point. An intersection is simply the intersection point of 2 or more geometries. So here I'll once again go to line tool and look at this point here. So here we have this spline and the circle, and they're both intersecting right here. So if I move my cursor close to this point, it will highlight this point of intersection. That's intersection. We also have intersection points here. We have intersection point here, and also we have intersection points here. So these two are also intersection points. If you extend it further, it's going to intersect at some point. Of course, they are also endpoints, so AutoCAD will highlight endpoint first, but it's still an intersection point too. All right, let's see what we have next. So the next is extension. And for extension, well, we'll use this arc as an example and this line. So I'm going to zoom into this area. Let's activate extension first. Okay, it is activated, so I'll just go back to this. Now for this, you don't need any command. Extension will simply extend your existing geometry. For example, if you want to extend this line exactly along its direction, then click this last grip. By the way, these blue dots are called multifunction grips. Click and just extend it in this direction. Now, as long as you have this extension option on the tooltip, you can be assured that it is extending exactly along this direction. If, however, you move it further away from that line, that extension option will disappear, and now it's not following that line. So move it close to this line, and here we are still extending it again. So here, that's the extension. You can do the same for arc. So go to arc and extend it right along this direction. So here we are extending it. Again, if you move it further away from that point, it's not going to extend it, and it will just be a simple drawing. So just move it closer, and once again, we are extending it. So you can just move it all the way up to this point. When intersection shows up, click, and that's the extension tool. Now, before we discuss all the other tools, let me deactivate all the snaps which we don't usually need. So I'll deactivate geometric center, node, quadrant, and extension. I'll only keep end, mid, center, and intersection active for now.